Welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name's Carl. Welcome back if you're a returning visitor. If you haven't subscribed, I'd please ask you to subscribe so we can help grow the channel. Right then, what we're going to have a look at is a new model that's arrived, and it's probably the one that I'm going to build first in the 1/48 scale because it's simpler and gives me more chance to just play with the details and enjoy it rather than it being too complex for me. It's the Airfix De Havilland Chipmunk T.10 in 1/48 scale, and nice bit of art on the front. I do like the look of this actually. Now it's got 4 schemes according to that, so I'll have a look at the side a little bit. In there basically it's just a warning, yeah, not for children under 36 months. What? Not suitable for children under 36 months. Right, okay, so yeah. Right, we've got cartograph decals here, which is always nice to see. Cartograph decals. On the sides, you just got the usual picky. On this side, which is always upside down, is a little bit of history about the aircraft. It says the first aircraft type designed and built by De Havilland, Canada. The Chipmunk took to the skies in May 1946. So obviously, between it was after the Second World War finished, yeah, and almost immediately gained interest in the military. By April 1948, the Royal Canadian Air Force had taken delivery of their first Chipmunk, but they were not the only ones admiring the qualities of this aeroplane. The majority of the 1,283 De Havilland Chipmunks would be manufactured under license in the UK in factories at Hatfield and Chester, with around 735 of these going to sea service with the Royal Air Force as the direct replacement for the venerable old Tiger Moth. In RAF service, the British built machines were known as the De Havilland Chipmunk Mark 10, and they would go on to provide basic flight training support for many thousands of future military aviators. Right then, so that's a bit of history. Now obviously here you've got your 4 schemes. 1 flying hour and skill level 2. So what we'll do is we'll delve into the box. Right then. Nice little top opening box, I like these. Again, Airfix, everything comes in one bag. We've got the instructions with, I would have thought, yes, the decals inside, protected by this bit of tissue. Right then, so what we've got here is basically the cartograph decals. It looks like a trainer, 2 cockpit decals in there, and this looks like the general bit at the top. So this is probably for all aircraft, yeah, and then 4 different schemes worth of decals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one probably, the Royal Navy, just being as I'm XRN, so that's probably the one I'll be doing. They look pretty good, yeah, but cartograph always like, they go down beautifully. If I ever have any problem with cartograph decals, it's normally because of me, and because they're flimsy I tend to be a little bit heavy-handed with them. Right, so they go in there, so we put that box down and keep the decals safe. Right then we've got the usual instructions. Okay, so here again we got the history repeated there in a couple of languages, some specs on the aircraft itself, speed 138 mile an hour, range 259 miles, wingspan 34 foot 4 inches, and length 25 feet 5 inches. Okay, so I mean it's just simple stuff there, usual Airfix sort of stuff. And I like Airfix manuals, I like the way they open up. Again, carries on with a few more languages, then it goes through a bit where it tells you the assembly instructions. Usually we'll go back to the icons that you'll see within the manual, and then here we go straight into the cockpit. So it's simple, we just assemble the seat with the seat cushion. Seat cushions were fitted to restored aircraft only, so, but I like the texture on the seat cushions, so you know, I'll probably end up doing them. Obviously here it says you've got to drill a couple of holes. Not 100% sure why. I think it's basically for the control sticks. Then we go on and assemble the seats and put them in there. Add some bits to the fuselage, and it gives you, depending on which scheme you're doing, it tells you where to draw some holes. Paint call out, a couple of bits there that need to go onto the side of the fuselage. So, oh, decal. Yeah, there's a few decals that need to go on. No, there's quite a few decals that need to go on. Thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 decals on there. That makes the inside nice and interesting. Mind you, it's a 148, so I'm not used to 148 and these extra little bits of detail. And then with the page, we go back again. It says to install the cockpit tub into the fuselage. Just carries on. Other bits and pieces, tail wheel, close the fuselage up. Then there's the rear. I think, oh, is that the engine bulkhead? Yes, it's the engine bulkhead. And I presume that's a fuel canister. I like that. I may actually do that where it says 54, which looks like yellow. I think I may end up doing that. I've got like a Bay Air Hog brass, which would be nice there. So I've got some nice colours here. And then you attach the bulkhead to the closed fuselage, and then we're into the instrument panel. Seems strange that you close the fuselage before you're doing instrument panels. Okie-dokie. Right. On step 16, note if building this model with the engine side covers open, assemble parts A6 and A7 in this step and refer to step 17B below and step 47 on page 11. Miss out step 29 on page 7. Right, okay, so you can have the engine bay open or closed, so it depends on how you're going to display the aircraft to what steps you do. And this is where we go to this bit, yeah, that's without the engine compartment closed, and this is with, because obviously these are going to be the hingings for the panels. And again, another instrument panel, and then we insert the instrument panels. All looking very nice. Then we're assembling the engine. Yeah, I'm sure you can have a lot of fun with this if you're really into detailed. Yeah, it's not complicated, but you could make it complicated. You know what I mean? That's the one thing I'm sort of like really interested about in this scale, is you can actually start adding detail yourself. And even though I'm still a noob, it's something I'd like to get into, sort of a bit of scratch building, just to, you know, add some wires and fuel lines and things like that. And basically it's just assembling the engine, and again assembling the engine. Then it's the framework that holds the engine in. It looks like here you've got to cut off. These are obviously part of the actual sprue frame, yeah, and that's probably where the ejector pins go to knock it out without soon not getting ejector pin marks on the actual model itself. Which I like these ideas where you have little bits where you just cut off, you know, bits of the sprue rather than having to deal with the ejector pin itself. I'd rather deal with cleaning up a bit of a sprue gate than I would an ejector pin. So I actually really do like the idea of like having sprue gates where the ejector pins hit separate from the actual model itself. And there we go, the installation of the framework and the engine, and it's top cover, front cover, side covers, it all goes together to close up. And then we move on to the wings, a bracing strip that goes onto the lower wing, and then you attach the lower wing to the model. Then you attach the 2 upper wings to the lower wings. I can't remember if somebody mentioned before to attach, whether it would be better to attach the upper wings to the model beforehand, because it closes up the gap at the wing root. I'll have to look at the videos again. Ailerons go on then. Then we're onto, like, you know, horizontal stabilizers that go in. Tail is already part of the, tail's already part of it. Yeah, the actual rudder itself then goes on. Then there's a question mark, depending on which scheme you're doing, A, B, C or D, then you've got to put these in. Now I think these were anti-spin strips, or helped you make spins more controllable, so that during training, when you actually, because obviously you've got to do spin recovery in training, these will help make spinning more predictable. Then there's the elevators that go on. Right, Then we're going to do, if you're doing it on the ground or in the air, obviously it didn't have retracting wheels, so there's like two different struts here for the undercarriage and one's shorter than the other. The shorter one is for when the aircraft is on the ground, which obviously will show that the weight of the aircraft on it. Yeah, and when it's in the air, that obviously extends because there's no weight on the undercarriage or wheels. So the longer ones will be for when it's in the air, the shorter ones for when it's sat on the ground. So then when you're going to install the wheels, tail wheel, then we go on to the propeller assembly with the spinner and everything. Yeah, that gets installed in there pretty simply, and then we're just onto the little ancillary bits and pieces like PO tubes and things like that to go on. Again, another scheme one, so keep an eye on whichever scheme you're doing, because there's parts that need to go on if you're doing scheme D according to that. Again, question mark. Note, when building this model with the engine side covers open, assemble the parts below and refer to steps 16, 17B on page 5. So now this is harking back to whether you're going to have the engine bays open. I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to, or whether just have one side open. I presume if you're having one side open, you need to adjust the hinges. You maybe cut off one of the hinges so you can have one closed and one open. I mean, so I'm obviously going to have a little play with this, but it looks fairly nice and simple. Then we're on a canopy, and there's a jig to assemble the canopy as well, which I think is a bloody good idea. So we've got this jig. You don't glue the jig, you just put it together, and then you start assembling the canopy on that jig. I don't think I'm going to have figures, although I don't know. And then basically we're just assembling the canopy. Right, so it looks fairly straightforward. So there's a lot of, looks like there's a lot of room for a bit of scratch building there if I want to do that. I think for me it's mainly getting a 1/48 scale together to look reasonable, because obviously going to use a lot more stuff. Right, lots of decals. Right, anyway, this is scheme 1, which is, it's in the colours of number 2 Flying Training School, restored by Vintage Fabrics, Audley End Airfield, Saffron, Walden, Essex, England in 2020. So this is the restored one. It's in Walden and Essex at the moment. Right, scheme B. Where are we on there? Scheme B is serial number Whiskey Bravo 549, the first British Chipmunk displayed at Farnborough, Hampshire, England in 1949. So this is pretty much all silver. Well, it says gunmetal actually. But it looks like 53. I can't see the whole aircraft being gunmetal. No, it's just certain parts of it, so I presume it's a nice grey. Anyway, so it looks, to me it looks aluminium coloured or silvery, but I'm not doing this scheme anyway. But this is the first Chipmunk that was displayed at Farnborough, so that's an interesting one actually. But obviously this is the one I'm probably going to go for, which is the Royal Navy Historic Flight Royal Naval Air Station Yeovilton in Yeovilton, Somerset in England at 2009. So this would have, if it's 2009 and it was probably restored, then it probably has got the seats in it, which I want to do. But yeah, this is the scheme that I'll probably want to do, being ex-Navy myself. Yeah, that's really interesting. Lots and lots and lots of decals. Right then, and then the final scheme we're going to look at is, it's the Army Air Corps in the Army Aviation Centre in Middle Wallop, Hampshire in England, June 1968. So basically it's just a camo version of it. So if you like camo on your planes, this is obviously the one to go for. And apparently you don't use nowhere near as many decals. Okay, so that's basically the manual. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the sprue. I'll just put these decals away nice and safe. Right. So, sprue bag sealed. So our trusted little knife, and open you up and put the lid on it, because you know it's going to end up sticking in me somewhere I probably don't want it to. Right, so we open the sprue up. In here we've got the glass, but I'll take a look at that later. When I first started doing these sort of reviews, I used to leave the glass in the bags because I didn't want to didn't want to damage the glass at all. But since I had a look at the one, for some reason, I don't know why, I opened the bag for the Harrier, and since I did that, I'm opening every bag, glass bag that comes up, right, because that was terrible. Right then, what have we got? We've got sprue. Oh, careful with that. Right. Sprue A, sprue B, and sprue C. So basically we've got 3 sprues. Put them 2 down there while I've got sprue A. Right, oh, now this is nice. Yeah, this is, oh, yeah, loads of raised rivets on here. You can see where the, oh, this is nice. Must be fabric there, yeah. But there's rivets on the front end, so it looks like the leading edge was metal, but then it was fabric here, or doped. And then you got the flaps here. So you got raised panel lines right at the front. You got some like fabric texture here with bits and pieces going in there. Then on the flap you got some, and along the trailing edge of the doped area, or the fabric area, you have recessed rivets. Down the centre there's some more raised rivets. So obviously we're going to have to be really careful here about how we deal with sanding and stuff, because you can't really recover raised rivets. Again, yeah, diesel's quite nice. I mean, yeah, I'm pleased with that. Then the upper wing surface, same again. Yeah, you can feel the raised rivets on there. Right, yeah, I'm pleased with that. Let's sort of the inside. Okay. Obviously, because there's no undercarriage as such, yeah, there's no detail, is there? Because you won't see anything. Right, that's sprue A, very simple. Let's go on to sprue B. Okay, sprue B, and this is where you get quite a bit more gear. So you've got the spinner propeller assembly there. Looks like some of the engine cowling parts. Horizontal stabilizer, I presume. Yeah, a bit more there for the cowling. Fuselage with the tail attached. So you got the fuselage here with the tail attached. And again, the ejector pins on separate little bits. I mean, there's a few ejector pins in here, but I'm not sure how. Yeah, you may have to deal with that one. I'm not sure how many ejector pins you'll need to deal with that would be visible, because I like these, the way these are, because it's easy, like I said, it's easier to deal with a sprue gate than an ejector pin. I'm quite pleased with the detail. Nice. Looks very good. Very good. Right, you've got your 2 pilots in here, or your 2 aircraft. Yeah, it looks like there's very soft. Can you see that? I don't know if that's going to be in focus, but actually the detail on these pilots is very soft. I mean, you could probably make them look reasonable. But let's see. See, I don't know if that's flash or just a melt. Yeah. Well. But yeah, it is quite soft. I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to do the pilots. And the other thing, they're both exactly the same. So they've both got exactly the same pose. I mean, that's just being picky though, isn't it? Right, and like I said, yeah, tail, heel tubes. Yeah, they're massive, like fasteners. Because it's not like they're raised rivets, is it? They're fasteners. So that was a plate that was fastened on. Looks like it was there maybe to strengthen the tail, or strengthen the connection between the tail and the fuselage. But you got a lot of, yeah, this is all raised rivets along here. Nice, because it'll show up well with a pin wash, but hopefully I'm not going to need to do any sanding or anything. What have we got here? Yeah, it's raised rivets everywhere. Excuse me. I'm pleased though. It doesn't look overcomplicated. So for me, it'd be sort of like it's sort of like a perfect model to build. And I'm not sure whether I'm going to do this straight after I've done the Focke-Wulf, to tell you the truth, because I'm pretty excited about this one. Right. And then we go on to the final sprue, sprue C, which has mainly got the engine stuff in it and the cockpit stuff. Yeah, so it's all the ancillaries. There's so what we've got here is we have, it's easy to point. So we've got instrument panels. Yeah. Right. Now these are landing gear, I presume. I'm just thinking. Yes, you can see, right. This would be while it's in the air, because you see these scissor legs, they're not compressed, but here they are. So this would probably be on the ground, this would be in the air. So the wheels will be hanging down further if it was in the air. Tail wheel. See, I'm not sure if that's a fuel tank or an oil tank or something, but yeah, it's nice. The detail on this is, I'm really pleased actually. And there's a firewall between the engine and the cockpit. A seat here. Engine parts. Yeah, it's all engine parts. The exhaust manifold. Tyres. Oh, tyres have got a bit of texture on them as well. And there's locating lugs on the tyres so that you get them the right way around. I don't see any flat spot. So depending on where that is, I may need to put a little flat spot on there, because it looks, something's come off. There you go. This is why I don't like it in the bags, right? There's one of the control sticks has come off. This is why I don't like stuff all in one bag, because I could have lost that. Good job I noticed it actually. And there's something else. I think that's just an ejector pin. But now I've got to put it in here. Oh. You've got to put it in the bag to make sure it's safe. Please, Airfix. See, where did he come from then? It's not even off this sprue, I don't think. I'm looking for the other control stick, see if there's anything else missing. Right, this sprue looks complete. Anyway, there's a cockpit tub there. There's a seat here. That's the front. I think that's another seat, or a seat tub. Firewall, engine. I think these are ailerons, rudders. So I presume there's specific rudder for specific scheme. So, because obviously this rudder looks fatter than that one. So I think I don't know if that's getting an earlier one or a later one. Right, I mean the detail's okay. That's a bit dodgy as well. Right. I'm pleased with that. I'm pleased with how it looks. What I'm not pleased with Airfix is the way things keep dropping. Yeah, there you go. The control column was off there, so there's the other control column. Just having a look through the sprue to see if there's anything not there now. This is why I always get worried. There's Peter. Yeah, you look complete apart from the control column. Right. So there's something I'm missing. Well, not missing per se, but oh yeah, there you are. Oh, nice. Seat belt. Yeah. So you got your textured seats here. I think I'm going to put these in actually. Oh yeah, I like that. I mean, I've got like Edward seat belts that probably work for this era, but I'm actually quite liking that detail there. Right. Yeah. Okay, I think that's the only thing that's come off the sprue. Right, good. So we'll just put them back, and just remember that control column is in this bag now, instead of on the sprue. You know, when I come and start building it, I'll start twitching. Right, there we go. That's the bag. I'm actually a happy chap considering what it cost me. I think it was $13 for this kit, which works out about 10 quid, I think. Right, now we'll have a look at the glass. Oh, there you go. Just be careful with X-Acto knives. Wow. this is why I keep putting the cover on, but I managed to stab myself anyway. Righty-ho, that was amusing for you guys then. Right, now we have the glass. Okay, looks a little bit... Sorry, my dog's gone nuts. Right, anyway, back to this. So these must be scheme specific. Depending on what you're doing, depends on which of the side panels you use. Obviously it's the same front and rear panels. Glass, as it were, and then there's some other glassy bits in here. But yeah, I can't see any scratches on it or anything. I mean, it does look a little bit... I don't know if that's because of the form of it. The flat one looks pretty cool. Yeah, it looks nice and clear. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Right, let's get it in the bag before I damage it like I did damage myself. Right, anyway, so that's that. So guys, what we have a great little model actually, and I'm really excited about doing this. So I do think this may jump to the front of the queue once the Fokker Wolf is finished. Now and that. So, and of course I have it upside down. Good grief. See if we can shake it all out of there. Right then, so basically that's it. We've got the Airfix De Havilland Chipmunk T.10 in 1/48 scale. Actually, I'm pretty pleased with this kit, you know, as Airfix kits go. This could be a really nice respite from that Fokker Wolf. If you've seen the videos of it so far, or especially the one I've just put up about when I'm starting to build it, you'll see why I'm looking forward to probably something like this, because this looks like in a completely different ballpark to the Fokker Wolf, even though they weren't far off the same price. Like I said, this was $13, so it's like a tenner, just about. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed your quick look at that, and I hope you look forward to when I start to do the build. Don't forget to leave any comments, especially if you've got any tips on things I should be doing when I'm building this. Is there any sequences that I should skip or change around to make life a bit easier? So if you've built it before, just let me know how you got on and what you thought of the kit. Don't forget to like the video, because it always helps the algorithm with YouTube, and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because it'll help the channel grow and I can start doing more of this. It's going to start slowing down soon when it comes to inbox reviews, because obviously living on a pension I can't afford to keep buying kits to do inbox reviews, and I've built up quite a nice little stash at the moment that could keep me going for quite a few months building. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you guys later.